In Chapter 10, we looked at energy. Chapter 11 is titled Using Energy. We're going to look at limitations on real-world uses of energy. And we're going to start with a question about light bulbs. So right here, I have a light bulb plugged into a socket. There's 15 watts of electric energy that comes in, 15 joules per second. What comes out is light, and there's about 3 joules per second, about 3 watts of visible light that comes out of this bulb. We have a question for you. What is the efficiency of this device? What is the efficiency? 15 watts in, 3 watts out. What's the efficiency? We'll give you some choices. And in fact, you know, what you do is you take the 3 watts, which is your output, and you divide it by the 15 watts, which is your input, and you get 20%. This light bulb is about 20% efficient. In the book, we define efficiency as what you get divided by what you paid. And that is a general definition of efficiency that we'll use throughout the chapter. Now, you can have light bulbs which have very different efficiencies. For instance, I'll swap out this light bulb, which is a compact fluorescent bulb, for this light bulb, which is an incandescent bulb. This light bulb puts out the same 3 watts of visible light, but it uses 75 watts of electricity on the input. So what's the efficiency of this bulb? 3 watts out, 75 watts in. What's the efficiency? We'll give you some choices. And of course, you calculate this the same way. I have 75 watts in, I have 3 watts out, 3 divided by 75, I get 4%. So this light bulb is 4% efficient. This light bulb is 20% efficient. That's the big difference between these bulbs, is their efficiency. You've heard that before, but now you have the numbers to kind of like explain what this means. Now, this is even more compelling if we look at the difference between incandescent bulbs and LED bulbs. And if I take these LED bulbs and I plug them into this plug is not connected to an electric outlet. It's connected to a generator. And the energy input comes from me. And if I crank this, I can directly sense how much energy goes in, because the energy goes in is provided by me. And I can see how much light energy comes out. If I swap it and run not the LED bulbs, but the incandescent bulbs, we can see how much light comes out. I can feel how much light goes in, how much electricity goes in. And what I can sense is I have to work a lot harder. I can hear the generator straining. I have to work about 5 times as hard, and I'm getting less light out. And so there's an even bigger difference in the efficiency. It's not just a factor of 5, because I'm putting 5 times as much energy in, and I'm getting less light out. So the efficiency of these incandescent bulbs compared to the LEDs, very, very different in efficiency. But I want to think about the first stage of the process. The energy came from me turning the crank. And where did the energy come from? My body. Where did the energy come from to get into my body? From the food that I eat. And so now we want to look at energy in the body. And any food that you get at the store is going to have a label on it. And if I look on the label, there's calories. So if I look at the nutrition label, there's 160 calories. That's the energy input. And that corresponds to 1 serving, which is approximately 32 chips. So if I eat 32 chips, I take in 160 calories of energy. That's a particular unit of energy. How do you measure that? Well, originally, measurements of this energy in food were made by burning. I'm going to take out, approximately 32 chips. And if I take my 32 chips and put them in a pile, I can light them on fire. And this is exactly the chemical reaction that your body uses. When you eat food, you oxidize it, and when you oxidize it, you extract energy from it. And so the process that I'm doing here looks different, but chemically is actually very, very similar to what happens in your body. Take a match, and I strike it, and it turns out that these chips are pretty high in fat content, and so the consequence, they burn pretty well. And this amount of energy that we're seeing here, this is 160 calories, approximately. And you can see that 160 calories is a tremendous amount of energy. But 1 big C calorie is actually 1,000 small c calories. And in terms of joules, that corresponds to an amount that's even greater. And so the energy is going to continue to come out of these chips for quite some time. But if I ate them, I've taken the energy into my body, and if I take it into my body, I can use it to do different things. We're going to look at two very different types of activities that you can do, and we're going to look at the energy outputs. And first, we'll look at something like walking upstairs. When you walk upstairs, it's very, very easy to figure what you get. What you get is increased potential energy. And then if we figure out what did you have to pay in order to get that increased potential energy, we have a standard figure we use in the book, and we use a figure of 25%, and that's about right for your body. If you're going to raise your potential energy by about 1,800 joules, it will cost you 7,200 joules of energy input to achieve that change in potential energy. So the efficiency of your body is about 25%. The other type of activity we'll look at is things like walking. When you walk down the hall, your body is using energy. But it's not as clear what you get. Your potential energy is not changing, your kinetic energy is not changing. The way you figure out the energy use of the body is you make a measurement. These people are wearing masks that measure the amount of oxygen they use, and so therefore the amount of energy their bodies use when they do certain activities. We've used that to make values in a table that you can use to make calculations when you do activities like walking, running, cycling. So that was a little bit about efficiency and also energy in your body. Now think about this. When you walk upstairs, 25% of the energy goes to increased potential energy. Where does the rest go? It goes into thermal energy. Your body warms up. And you need to get rid of that thermal energy. How do you do that? That's a piece we'll talk about in the next segment.